Well, hello and welcome to our second week within our criminological theory class. This week we are discussing the classical theories. These theories examined the social structures that were inhumane and were needed to change. Before these theories, punishment was arbitrary and judicial decisions were capricious. Hangings, public whippings, mutilation, etc. were very common. The principal purpose of criminal law, according to the classical theorists, is to deter crime. The key element in classical theories is the notion that man has free will. This originated with Beccaria and Bentham that I mentioned last week. In order to deter crime and outweigh the possible gain to criminal behavior, the punishment must be certain, severe enough to outweigh the possible gain, and swift enough to make the connection between the crime and its sanction. The problem here is that this theory assumes that the pain-pleasure calculus, the hedonistic calculus that we talked about last week, is the same for everyone. It assumes that because people possess free will, that they will then behave in a rational manner. The theory rests on the idea that if people behave in a rational manner by making crime irrational due to the punishment outweighing the pleasure, then potential offenders will change and commit less crime. Now, deterrence should work, if the punishment is certain, severe, and swift. There are two types of deterrence, and you're going to hear about this within the class: specific and general. The specific deterrence is when the offender refrains from future crimes for fear of punishment. It's something that impacts the individual. General deterrence is when the rest of us refrain from committing crimes for the fear of punishment. So, for instance, if I get angry at my lab over here, Sunny, for getting into the trash, this is specific deterrence. Then Sunny would be afraid to get into the trash, which then results in me getting angry, which is more of a general deterrence. Another example that we can use is the death penalty, because it is believed by many that the death penalty deters future crime. Well, it's definitely specific because it deters that individual from committing any more crime. But the question always rises, is it a general deterrence? And the problem with the death penalty, it is not severe. It is severe, but it is not swiftness. So it is not does not result in certainty, severity, and celerity. The criminal justice system in the United States is actually based on deterrence theory, like 3 strikes laws and get tough on crime policies. The result is that 1.6 million people are incarcerated in state and federal prisons. Even though this theory is intuitively appealing, it doesn't work. Deterrence is one of the most tested theories of criminology. As you see here on this slide, deterrence, as I said, is one of the most tested theories of criminology. There are numerous studies that assess whether or not the presence or absence of the death penalty really deters crime, and they have found little or no deterrent effect, as I stated. Taking this idea even further, Beccaria and Progarsky, they found that future offending correlates to prior experience with punishment. One of the real barriers that we were talking about is the swiftness. As we know, our judicial system is not swift. So by the time an offender or a suspected offender is punished, the idea of the deterrent effect is really little or no use. A variation of deterrence theory asks the question, what makes crime more attractive to potential offenders? Rational choice theory originated with Gary S. Becker, who is the Nobel Prize winner. The foundation here is that Y is a natural outcome of X. Do the crime, do the time. Now, routine activities theory that was developed by Cohen and Felsen found that we all have regular patterns that are predictable. When, for example, a thief wants to rob my house, well, actually, that wouldn't happen because my dogs would jump all over him. But say I didn't have my four-legged guards. If a burglar watched my house, he or she could predict when I would be home. Cohen and Felsen suggested that in order for a crime to actually occur, there are three elements that are needed. And that is someone who wants to commit a crime, the motivated offender, a vulnerable target, or suitable, and no one to guard the target, which is the absence of a capable guardian. It is said that burglary is more common today than it was even in the 1950s because there are dual wage earners and people take jobs further from their home, producing a vulnerable target. The offender is motivated because of having less money to spend and less hope of employment. Other scholars have found that certain individuals are more susceptible to crime because of their lifestyle, or they might live in high crime neighborhoods. And the last one would be that they are young, and so they're less able to really think ahead of the consequences of their actions. That concludes our short lecture for this week. If you have any questions, be sure to send me an email.